Face front, true believers. Agent Tiki here.
And Agent BD5 here.
Ooh. And in 2012, after in 2012, 6 heroes after many marvelous films of build-up were assembled to stop an alien invasion. This initiative was called the Avengers.
And after the massive success of that team-up, those mastermind movie makers decided to take on a sequel that's hype cannot be measured on any scale known to mankind. Following suit, they started Phase 2.
And now that Phase 2 nears a close, we're going to reflect on just how far Earth's mightiest heroes have come on this marvelous road to Ultron. Oh yes, oh yes. I was able to resist the temptation to do it in a sing-song voice that time. All right, BlueDragonFive, how we doing?
We're well.
Yeah, just plugging right along, We just got done doing our Natasha Romanoff / Black Widow video. That was a lot of fun, kind of gave us a lot of deep insights. But now we're here to talk about kind of like the most broad spectrum subject of our marvelous road to Ultron, but indeed there would not be an Avengers without S.H.I.E.L.D. Yes, S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
So you want to give us kind of like a quick recap of the initiative itself before we dive into the individual characters?
Oh, sure. Yeah, let's just kind of go. Let's talk about S.H.I.E.L.D. For a moment here. So let's go through kind of the progression of S.H.I.E.L.D. through all these movies here. S.H.I.E.L.D. started as the SSR in the 40s, which was the Strategic Scientific Reserve, which we all remember from First Avenger being the. And this isn't confirmed, but it's just me speculating. I think I'm really right with this. My speculation is that we look at our bad guys way back in the 40s here. Like, well, World War II has started. Hydra is the Nazi science division of Hitler, right? Yes.
Well, I don't know. I'm not really the expert when it comes to that. From what I remember from Captain America, Hydra was trying to overthrow the Nazis.
Well, I mean, yes, but I mean, it started out as the Nazi science division. Hydra was the Nazi science division of Hitler. Then they got basically power hungry because of the Red Skull, and they wanted to overthrow Hitler and everyone because they saw his petty squabbles as, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. I'll go with that.
The point is, it's also kind of, the Red Skull was like the Red Skull was one of Hitler's favorite guys because he liked the occult and the magic and stuff. That's why that's why Hydra gained some traction from Hitler. The point is, the Nazis have their secret weapon, which is a secret science division. So I'm assuming America had a similar idea. That, okay, we got Nazis with this sort of thing. We're going to come up with a scientific division of our own called the SSR, which is led by Colonel Phillips, and then Peggy Carter is kind of his underling there. Basically, kind of like a spare little unit of the military devoted more so to the combating Hydra. And that's my little backstory on the SSR I kind of speculate on. I don't think I'm wrong with that. I think it makes sense.
No, yeah, everything fits together pretty well. Yeah.
In a nutshell, with S.H.I.E.L.D. the years down the line after that point. So again, the government, the SSR back then was just more like government basically cops, as if they were dealing with basically cops out of uniform dealing with villains with tools the police can't handle, and could lead to big international trouble. Again, mainly relating to Hydra weapons and threats. That's essentially what the SSR's purpose was, and we saw a bit of that in Agent Carter. There are guys in suits that were government guys that solved problems involving Hydra-related things.
It also kind of brings me back to when they first announced Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which, of course, I haven't watched really and you've been keeping up with. But I remember the big pitch with that is it was specifically like after the Battle of New York, and they had to do like all this cleanup on the alien invasion that had happened and all this alien weaponry lying around and everything like that. So, that's really been S.H.I.E.L.D.'s kind of main objective, is just kind of like keeping this sort of like otherworldly technology and whatnot away from the hands of the public.
And again, you see how it kind of backtracks all the way back to the Red Skull's impact on things back in the war. It's just kind of, it's shown like a new form of war with this cosmic cube, and that's made S.H.I.E.L.D. all the more relevant years later, starting from the SSR onwards. Because S.H.I.E.L.D. nowadays, the current S.H.I.E.L.D., well nowadays we don't really have a S.H.I.E.L.D., but back when S.H.I.E.L.D. was around, it had kind of basically a Marvel's version of Men in Black, but with more espionage. And that's really the best kind of boiling down what S.H.I.E.L.D. is to the layman. At the very least, that's how the movies approach it. It's Men in Black, covering things up, but with more espionage spy elements added to it, which is really cool.
Yeah, more spy elements and less like kind of like wacky, surreal humor.
Yeah. S.H.I.E.L.D., as we've seen throughout this thing, S.H.I.E.L.D. has changed with the times and the growing threats. Again, looking at some of this, with the Cube, and importantly, the after the SSR. Kind of upgraded itself to S.H.I.E.L.D. S.H.I.E.L.D. Was founded by Howard Stark, Peggy Carter, and Colonel Phillips, Tommy Lee Jones' character.
Oh, yeah.
So those three
Awesome.
are the guys that founded S.H.I.E.L.D. And, it's from that point forward, it's been comprised of many skilled agents and operatives, operatives being kind of our agents like Romanoff and so forth. And there's always the thing that's always been kind of present in all the iterations of S.H.I.E.L.D. onward have been kind of moral ambiguity that to be expected with a government organization. There's always something suspected there. And anyway, so after the Cosmic Cube, we see them deal with the Leviathan. The SSR deals with the Leviathan organization, bringing about kind of the Cold War before the Cold War, which is interesting because Captain America took on the Nazis before we had to take on the Nazis, which is kind of funny.
Right. Yeah.
Not by much, but
Yeah, in a way, Cap kind of pushed us into it, kind of gave us a, like, hey, guys, come on, you really should be doing this. It's cool to punch Hitler in the face.
Yeah. And basically it's, basically kind of, taking on the, basically Cold War before the world kind of knew about the Cold War brewing. And there's basically also, we've seen the SSR deal with a lot of, doubt within, kind of doubt some framing up of people being framed like Howard Stark, and a lot of mind control elements, being put in there.
Sure, yeah.
And of course,
exactly.
a lot of sexism, and once the sexism kind of got placated thanks to Agent Carter, kind of stepping up to the game, which eventually she'll get more credit for it as time progresses, and then she spins off with Howard Stark and Colonel Phillips, turning the SSR into S.H.I.E.L.D. And by the way, just with something to bring up with the idea, it's called S.H.I.E.L.D. It's a nice homage to Captain America when you look at the grand scheme of things. That's why she named it S.H.I.E.L.D., I'm assuming. Or she and Howard named it S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, it is a nice homage.
However, again, this is more a question of hindsight. I'm sure they just realized the old gag of S.H.I.E.L.D. it's an acronym. And in Iron Man, there's a dumb gag. In retrospect, dumb gag. It's cute, but it's kind of dumb when you think about it now. That Pepper Potts named S.H.I.E.L.D., which
yeah, that's something I kind of wish they could have retconned.
Yeah. I mean, I think they've kind of retconned because we all love Captain America now, and just seeing Agent Carter had a big step in forming.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes so much more sense. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I think the idea, if you want to make it work in some way, it still doesn't work the whole way. But I'm saying if you want to make it work in some regard, it's that she came up with an acronym for S.H.I.E.L.D., and just because Captain America kind of sadly, I guess, fell out of the public consciousness for a while since the war ended, people just forgot what it stood for. And again, stupid.
That's sad. It's so sad.
And again, it's still kind of stupid because people just can't put together the acronym and just say, oh, look, it spells S.H.I.E.L.D., but I don't know.
Right, exactly.
Point is, it's kind of a dumb name gag. It's kind of haunted S.H.I.E.L.D. Anyway, that gets us to that point. And just kind of going through the progression of the movies, like, a nutshell here. Iron Man, in Iron Man, we see them kind of tracking Stark the whole way, and that's kind of some of the extended tie-in comics. We see him like they've been tracking him since he was kidnapped, and they were scrambling to find him along with the military.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Huh. Yeah, it's like Coulson and Fury, they were like keeping tabs on Stark, seeing like where he goes. The whole movie, even like when he was fighting Stain, and they saw him like in the air during the military stuff, so they were kind of on the upper.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
Beforehand, that's why Coulson knew where to find Pepper at that right moment and everything.
Okay.
They try to debrief him constantly, try to get him to talk over stuff, tell him to keep things under wraps, and of course that backfires big time at the end of Iron Man.
Oh yeah.
And pretty much there are S.H.I.E.L.D.'s big things that they're damage control, and of course now they have to do major damage control after he says, I am Iron Man. You are Iron Man. You're part of a bigger world.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about an initiative. In Iron Man 2, we see Black Widow's kind of snuck into Tony's world to gauge him for the Avengers initiative.
Yeah, we've already talked about not really the strongest strongest point in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
And S.H.I.E.L.D. saves Tony's bacon in the end of the day. They stop him from dying, which is good. In a nutshell, the initiative, kind of obvious, but they spell it out first in the Avengers. The initiative is they find a group of individuals, extraordinary people, to protect the world, and by proxy, kind of make a promise to the galaxy to don't mess with Earth's mightiest heroes. In a nutshell, like basically show we have a powerful force on Earth that you shouldn't mess with, which is the end result of Avengers.
But the Avengers also showed us not to mess with the men in the poorly lit rooms who secretly control the universe.
Of course.
Because they almost nuked us.
They did. We're going to discuss that in this when we get to it.
Okay, good.
Or when we get to Maria Hill, but we'll see along the path there. But with Thor, we see again more of the damage control side of S.H.I.E.L.D. They take the research and they're learning, they're studying the hammer, all that stuff. We see a really kind of the more, I think Thor shows us the more ruthless, kind of shadowy government keeping secret side of S.H.I.E.L.D., like the whole conspiracy.
Yeah, that's true, because in the Iron Man movies, like, we had Coulson kind of front and center, and he was more sort of like the, the bumbly guy and kind of quirky, but then, I mean, Coulson still is likable as ever in Thor, but the actions of S.H.I.E.L.D. are kind of like directly getting in the way of one of our main characters, so it's like, okay, we have to kind of actively root against these guys just based on that in this movie.
Yeah, again, they kind of basically they did the classic government things that they take things and give kind of lame excuses, like not letting you know anything what's going on. And this is important in terms of the S.H.I.E.L.D. arc here. They realized by the end, when Thor saving the day, Coulson being there, and we'll get to him. S.H.I.E.L.D. by proxy, I think, in the grand scheme of where we go to Avengers, they realized they were outgunned with all the stuff that happened in New Mexico, which of course led to Phase 2.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So that was the big thing. S.H.I.E.L.D. realized they were really ineffectual. Because remember, they did kind of save the day in Iron Man and Iron Man 2. They did save the days in those two.
Mm-hmm.
But, they realized they were just outgunned in this. Like, man, we can't deal with that as Guardians. What are we going to do? They just toppled us. We thought it was like one of Stark's armors. No, it was a Destroyer armor.
Exactly.
And before that, though, kind of, I forgot to mention this, but Incredible Hulk, we saw that S.H.I.E.L.D. is kind of supplying resources in the Hulk's capture. So they were monitoring him, yes, but still they did kind of lead to because remember, the government, not the government, the Hulkbusters in the army, they were able to find him because Bruce Banner logged onto a computer and said, it went through a S.H.I.E.L.D. database and they supplied the location. However, importantly for Avengers, at the end of that, they realize the Hulk's not the bad guy and they keep tabs on him from that point forward.
Yeah.
So again, that's why they kind of like Fury and Black Widow and all those guys. They were keeping bad guys, implied that they were keeping bad guys off the Hulk's tail and some interested parties off his tail because they trust him now.
Mm-hmm.
But still, they could have taken him down at any time because they're that good at tracking him. So with Captain America, they see this is important. Like they see Captain America as an asset, and also I think Coulson more so than anyone, maybe a little bit Nick Fury too. They see him as kind of like a nostalgic hope to usher in this new uncertain future. It's like, we saw Asgardians last time, so what are we going to do going forward? We need kind of a reminder of what built us as an organization, something a little more nostalgic, something that kind of literally formed us, gave us a name, so to speak.
Yeah, and it is a shame that Coulson isn't in First Avenger. Like, that is kind of like a big sort of huge afterthought when you think about it.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I just wish they'd add like a brief scene of Coulson just unthawing. Remember that scene in Avengers where it's like quickly a flash of him thawing Captain America out?
Yeah, exactly.
I just wish they just set that in between when we saw before we saw Captain America wake up in First Avenger.
I don't know. I hate to say it, but I think that is kind of like one of the most obvious examples that Joss Whedon, I don't know, it wasn't. I feel like Phase 2 has definitely been much more well connected than Phase 1 was as a whole. Right. But anyway, so what's next?
The other thing, the last thing, Captain America, in terms of what S.H.I.E.L.D. does, is we see the positive side of S.H.I.E.L.D. Again, the S.H.I.E.L.D., the elements of S.H.I.E.L.D. that Coulson will be really ushering in, and later on when he's kind of the remnants of S.H.I.E.L.D. that they're helping powered people find their place. Again, similar to Men in Black. They see these powered people and they try to help them find their place of what they're doing with Captain America, getting back out in the world, helping them readjust to society.
Mm-hmm.
So we get to see that's a good side of S.H.I.E.L.D. now. So then in the Avengers, Avengers right on the top, we see that their base is destroyed. However, before that though, in some of the time material, we got some really interesting stuff here. I'm gonna blow by real quick here.
Okay.
So they had a lot of ominous side projects. I assume all coincided with Phase 2. They're using enemy weapons for a noble purpose, and also plan to nuke everyone apparently. So here's what we saw in some of those tie-in comics. We saw that there was I think it was Nick Fury's big week. I think it could be wrong, but we saw they have the Whiplash armor, so they have arc reactor technology they're working on the side there.
Okay.
So basically, they're looking at Whiplash's armor and like his technology. We also saw it's really clever actually. They had the Destroyer's body, which they turned into the Destroyer gun for the movie.
Oh, interesting. All right.
So they confiscated the Destroyer's body at the end of Thor,
Right.
and that's how we got the gun and turned it into it. Also, the Abomination is in their possession.
Yeah, I knew about that. Okay, right.
And also, the last one, most important, the one I mentioned it before. They have Samuel Stearns, the leader, in like a little tank in there, so they took him prisoner.
Oh, we need a solo help movie for that.
And of course, the last one being the Cosmic Cube, which we see they're toying with, and basically what we've kind of learned from all of this is they're trying again some more negative elements of S.H.I.E.L.D. coming out here, but again not entirely negative. It's morally gray, so they're toying with power here, power to handle other powerful players like Thor and others, like hence kind of the nuclear bombs and the Hydra weapons and the Tesseract technology. That's what they were using it for. Not just to handle power people, but also to kind of bridge out to other worlds. So they're toying with like portal technology, which of course leads to Loki coming there.
Of course.
So again, also we can just assume there's an intention to help the world with this unlimited power that could even rival Tony Stark's arc reactor.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the kind of crossing. And then they're crossing lines with this, especially with the ultimate Phase 2 weapon, which is basically a giant nuclear weapon powered by the Tesseract. Yeah, Phase 2. And also, importantly, is you're going to have the shadowy people that control the world here. The World Council.
Yes, let's talk about them.
Yeah, a big thing of the World Council we see in this movie, and especially in Winter Soldier, is that it's mainly in Avengers. They're really steering. They've been the reason S.H.I.E.L.D's been steered in the wrong direction here, because they're suggesting we be on more of the offense than the defense here. We got to have these weapons ready to attack things like that. They're the ones that suggest the nuclear weapons, the Phase 2 options. So all those weaponized things, that's basically the World Council suggestions of having something to attack these powerful people with if we need to.
I guess that makes sense. My only real issue with them is just how ridiculous the design looks in terms of like, ooh, they're secret and they're in poorly lit rooms.
Well, originally they were going to have faces, but Josh Whedon thought it looked cooler, and it does look cooler. You got to admit.
No, I don't admit that. I will never admit that. I think it looks lame.
No, I think man, they changed it in the Winter Soldier to have them I like how they play with the visual motif each time. I think that's a cool idea, though. Like first time they were all shadowy, then we got to see them like all hologrammy, then in physical person.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Okay.
No, it's good. Like, basically, they didn't know if they were going to need them again, so they want to show the actors, and some of them returned.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point with the actors. Yeah, that's always kind of an issue. Okay.
Basically, I think they kept two of the actors. I know they kept the girl, Jenny Agarty. They kept her for Winter Soldier because she was there and she had the prominent, most recognizable voice, I guess.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Right.
And so the point is, like, you see the World Council. Like, Fury's at odds with these guys, and because he realizes Fury just wants to go with like, hey, we're gonna have these superpowered people working with us. That's the plan. Like, we don't want to fight these guys. We want more trouble. The World Council.
I mean, let's bring up that great scene of when the Avengers are all arguing with each other and they're saying how S.H.I.E.L.D. has all of them listed as a threat, and then of course
Captain America's a threat.
Yeah, Bruce Banner has that great line: "Captain America's a threat."
Yeah, again, there's some favoritism going on there. He's not pleased with that.
Right.
And of course, going on forward with Winter Soldier again, there's a lot more moral gray and secrecy there that really kind of gets under our hero's skin, and we have the huge the huge status quo changing Hydra reveal that Hydra has infected S.H.I.E.L.D. since the end of World War II and onward. So basically, S.H.I.E.L.D. all this time has been a mix of Hydra, and it's always because of Alexander Pierce also. Mm-hmm. Alexander Pierce has basically been the guy who headed along with Nick Fury, kind of put together Project Insight, and he saw more negative potential in that. Which basically, the really interesting thing about that Pierce makes is that he makes legitimate points that if you're going to have a threat that if you're going to have these big threats, all these threats in the world, if they make a wrong move, wouldn't you want to take them out before they cause any damage and they hurt anyone? So that's Pierce's argument. But then, of course, in the Hydra review, he's saying, well, look, all of our villains, before they do anything, this algorithm detects if they do, if they even have the potential to do something wrong. And then, of course, worked in there the Hydra and the S.H.I.E.L.D. threat. So it, of course, is biased on his side of things, definitely. But still, just it's like that's kind of what I think. Cause I've heard like some people say there's some political things in Winter Soldier that make you really think, like not bad or anything, just make you, oh man, we're kind of going through similar stuff like that now, type stuff.
Of course, yeah.
Which of course it's kind of a cool idea, but really terrifying if there was like a giant satellite up there that could basically wipe millions of people out. That would be bad, but still, just knowing that's over your head anytime you make a wrong move, it could wipe you out.
Right.
Which, by the way, the Justice League kind of beat him to that. By the way.
Indeed. Can I ask you something about Winter Soldier kind of tied into to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Because I heard that was one of the best parts of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So do you want to go into that a little bit?
Well, I was...
Or were you saving it for a particular segment?
I was going to save it when we get to Coulson, but I mean, if you want.
Oh, no. Okay, go ahead. That's fair enough. Just as long as we cover that.
So pretty much, so obviously Insight is huge deal, and that was kind of the last straw, and that basically kind of led Captain America saying, okay, it's all or nothing. Okay, we're getting rid of everything. Okay, obviously we can't handle this. Hydra has to go. We can't handle this kind of power. We're getting rid of it all. Clean slate, nothing left.
Right.
We start from the beginning. I don't know what we're going to do. We can't have S.H.I.E.L.D. anymore. It's become compromised, and you, of all people, Nick Fury, know we can't have something compromised around here.
Yeah, he does know that. Oh, yeah.
So basically that's where we're left off in the world. There is no S.H.I.E.L.D., and we're kind of suffering the consequences from that point forward, and we see that further explored in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but we'll get to that when we get to Coulson.
Okay, so before we get to Coulson, I think it'd be appropriate to start with the one guy here who was an actual honorary Avenger, which is Hawkeye. Yeah.
Well, not honorary. He's an Avenger.
Yeah, he is an Avenger, indeed.
He earned his place. Come on. He basically he's the reason we got Puny God.
Puny God.
No Hawkeye means no heir to Loki, which means no it means no Puny God.
Yeah, fair enough.
So,
all right, so Hawkeye is definitely kind of a slow burn. He starts out the first time we see. Is there any background stuff you want to go over before Thor?
Yeah, exactly. Let me just build you what we know from Hawkeye in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, just keep getting him to the points we've seen him in the films. Not a lot, but let me just lay it out for what they're doing with their take. Hawkeye, expert marksman, much like the comics, which he basically. So the idea is, I'm assuming we're going to see more of this Age of Ultron. He is good at everything in terms of like throwing something. He's like basically a good version of Bullseye. He's like seriously, he's an expert marksman. He can throw anything.
Okay.
It's like they're in these Matt Fraction Hawkeye comics that are really good, by the way. I haven't read a lot of them, but I've read like the first volume of them, and it's really good stuff. It's like him.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's like him and like I forget if it's Hell's Kitchen or not, but like him and just like really street level New York, just kind of doing good, like facing like tracksuit mobsters, and he's really cool about it. He's like protecting a small town almost, but in New York.
According to the Marvel Cinematic Universe wiki, one of his aliases is Legolas. Is this real?
I wouldn't put it past him. It's probably.
I think that's amazing if true, just for the record.
Wait, no. Tony Stark in the Avengers called him Legolas. That's why.
Oh, okay, I get it. Got it.
Yeah, that's why. Now I remember it. Yeah, because when he lifted, basically, Captain America, when he's giving out orders during the thing, he told Iron Man to get Hawkeye to a vantage point. He says, "Okay, hang on, Legolas."
And yeah, Hawkeye is most definitely the Legolas of the Avengers.
Yes, again, Hawkeye, expert marksman. He's a really good agent. He's the perfect guy for being the eye in the sky. We see in the Avengers he's very stoic and awesome in his moments that he has. We see basically kind of the cool idea with Hawkeye. We kind of get a vibe of he was kind of the go-to Avenger before we had super soldiers and Iron Man in this in the cinematic universe here. We can assume before we had the introduction of Iron Man and Captain America back and reintroduced into the world, he was the guy. He was like remember they gave him such build in Thor of like, like Colin Barton. Like he was the go-to guy.
Yeah, that's a fascinating observation that I'd never considered before.
Because remember, he was their
right.
secret weapon. Like Coulson, remember, he has such a great build in Thor for his cameo in terms of like he's just saying, "Hey, bring up Barton." Like they call him in, and he has such a great build. Like he was the secret weapon, and he still is to a degree. Like, he's the underestimated secret weapon. You know?
I definitely think he's the secret weapon of Avengers. I mean, you've pointed out time and time again how awesome his moment with Loki is, leading to puny God. I mean, he is like. He's kind of the glue to that team in a way.
Exactly, and again, I'm sure we're going to see Age of Ultron is going to have a lot more cool moments. But
oh yeah.
So let's see. Right. So, and also the other thing with Hawkeye is real quick before we get into we link up with him. He was recruited. He recruited Black Widow. Again, we mentioned this in the Black Widow video. That was his big defining moment of change. There, he was the big awesome guy from S.H.I.E.L.D. was targeted with. Again, he was there before Black Widow was. He was tasked with killing Black Widow. He decided he saw potential in her, saw she wasn't all bad, recruited her, and then now we have Black Widow on the team. She's an awesome agent, and they went on many adventures together, like in Budapest, and where I assume, is more the comic relief in that team, saying, "You and I remember Budapest very differently."
Indeed.
A lot of great stuff like that. So in Thor, we got a quick cameo with him, basically again being awesomely called in by Coulson to take out Thor. And he gets the idea that he would have been able to take out Thor had he not been called off. Like, been told to hesitate on that.
No, there's just no way. But you're right. It's a great build up to him. You're absolutely right about that.
Well, remember, I think the best thing about that little build up there is that they call him, they treat it like a big deal. I'm bringing in Barton because we see Thor tear through all these other S.H.I.E.L.D. agents.
Right.
Like a huge mountain of a guy too. He's beating the crap. And again, remember, Thor's a little moral at this point, so Hawkeye could have legitimately killed him in this point if he did.
Oh no! Okay, you're right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
I'm just saying because remember, he was. I mean, at least he would have hurt him. He would have hurt him a lot. Again, you don't know what trick arrows he would have used either. So.
No, that's a good point. I'm sorry, I completely forgot about that detail.
Okay. However, my point is though, the best thing about his reveal is that we have just the best homage is that he goes for the gun, but then he reconsiders. He goes for the bigger gun. He says he reconsiders. He grabs it. When you have a guy who has all this massive artillery and he goes for the crossbow, that's an awesome guy. That's intimidating.
Yeah, that's an awesome character, and that character also exists in The Walking Dead.
When a guy is called the secret weapon and he has the opportunity to go for any weapon he chooses, and again, he's an expert marksman, but he goes for the crossbow because that's his thing. this guy's a force to be reckoned with. So I mean, Hawkeye's always had like a cool build to him. He was the guy. He had this really fun thing going on where he was really interested by Thor. He says, like, do you want me to take him out, Coulson, or I'm starting to root for this guy.
Yeah.
I mean, Hawkeye, even though it was Hawkeye with the very little he gets a chance to do when he's on the side of good. I mean, he gets some really cool moments.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He's kind of the definition of like the side character where it's like he has a small role, but you definitely remember him.
Okay, so again, going forward with Avengers here. So we start the thing with Hawkeye has a reputation himself, of being the awesome guy before the Avengers came around, and basically being the coolest S.H.I.E.L.D. agent aside from Black Widow. So even like Dr. Selvig saying, Nick Fury's coming in and saying, hey, where's Agent Barton? He says, oh yes, the Hawk? Yeah, he's in his nest.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, that is one of the cooler, at least it's a really good introduction before the Loki pokey stick happens.
And again, the idea is Hawkeye is yet another one of those guys, like one of Fury's most trusted guys, most trusted agents here. In terms of he's the stoic guy who says, well, I asked you to keep tabs on everyone, keep examine. Well, I see better from a distance. And the idea that Hawkeye's big defining trait is that he is good at kind of being that eye in the sky, the guy who reads the situation, kind of gets a good feed on what everyone's doing at the same time there. So he's the guy who can give you a great status report. Hawkeye would be the perfect guy to team up with Captain America, because Captain America would make the strategy based on the information Hawkeye brings him. That would be the perfect dynamic.
And again, it's a shame we didn't see him in Winter Soldier, but that's a different story.
We'll get to that in a minute. I'll tell you why he wasn't in Winter Soldier.
Okay.
So anyway, so again, he's great at judging the situation. I love in this moment too when he's first introduced right in the beginning of the movie. Again, while he's still inside of good right now, he's the guy who calls. He's really forward thinking. This Hawkeye, he's the one that points out the Fury. Well, the doors open both ways.
Yeah, right. He does call
And
that
it's so he's the one who called that Loki might be trying something in a way. He's the one that's these doors open both ways. We should consider something coming from the other side there. And Hawkeye is a pretty wise guy in a good way. Anyway, so and also I don't think anyone gives him enough credit here because when he does get taken control of, when he does the Loki poke stick does happen to him, you got to remember Hawkeye throughout this thing he's fighting as hard as he can against us, at least at first, because he could have shot Fury in the head, but he shot him in the armor.
Yeah, that's true. I do feel like that's kind of an element of the movie that gets overlooked, and you can see the same thing kind of happening with Selvig too.
Yeah. Because remember, Selvig put a failsafe in the
Sure, exactly. Yeah,
I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, in the middle of it, you can tell it's kind of strong, and they're still kind of like their heart's desires thing is still working on. Like they're still seeing what they want and saying, "Oh, the cosmic cube. It's more than the Tesseract. It's more than knowledge. It's truth."
Right.
Yeah, we got a bunch of that going on. They're still kind of like head over heels with what the cosmic cube showing them. But still, I get a sense, at the very least, at the beginning, they had those moments of fighting against as hard as they could, but still being under control. So again, he could have instantly killed Fury, like shot him in the head. And he probably knows they weren't. Remember, he knew like, oh, he's trying to distract us, sir. He's trying to make the thing fall on you.
Yeah, for sure.
Again, good stuff. Plus, maybe on some level, that's him pointing out. That may be his way of sparing Fury's life by trying to distract Loki and get him out of there too. So maybe there's a bit of that too. So again, unfortunately, Hawkeye is more lackey in this movie than preferred by the fans. But again, I think the important thing to take away from this, and I'm going to tell you to you, thinking about this for Age of Ultron,
okay,
I think there's going to be some direct ramifications to this, and I'll discuss when we get to Age of Ultron in just one moment.
Interesting. Okay.
But because he is more lackey, we just see here the great build-up for maybe Age of Ultron that we see how skilled and dangerous this guy can be. We see, like, as a bad guy, this guy is so menacing and talented at what he does.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, when he is on the villainous side of things, he is definitely legitimately intimidating for sure.
That's a good way to build a character because it's one thing is I can only assume Whedon was faced with a script where he has all these great characters and one of them there's a point where there's too many. You have to take some of them out of the story at certain points. Yeah, he did that with him putting Hulk out of the equation for a while and putting Thor out of the equation for a while. And, of course, with Hawkeye for the whole thing, because otherwise you'd be really hard to work on all those character dynamics at this point in the first movie. So, I mean, it's a great build to see how menacing Hawkeye can be and how he's built his reputation over time because he's saying, I can see my next target. I'm going to need an arrow. I'm going to need an eyeball.
Oh, yeah.
Man, he really has a fixation on eyeballs.
Yeah, he does.
You know what's kind of cool? Maybe Hawkeye is so haunted by the horrific action of that eye thing that's the reason he's targeting Loki in the eye.
Yeah, that could be for sure. That makes sense.
Then again, eventually he gets his Loki revenge, which is cool. We mentioned previously he had a really good heart-to-heart with Black Widow, who kind of snapped him out of it. So again, good dynamic between those two, kind of paying off the whole like he spared her life and got her to change her ways, and she did the reverse for him. And
exactly.
Going forward here, I'm going to speculate Age of Ultron, if it's all right, unless you got anything to add.
No, go ahead.
I think Age of Ultron, the biggest, from what we've heard so far, he's going to have a really big part. He's going to have a much bigger part than in Avengers and then the sequel here, which, is good.
Making up for lost time.
And I think, just given the little bit we had in the trailer, the one line we had from Intrange, I'm convinced they're saving the best lines he has just so it can catch us by surprise when we're seeing it in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think the one line, he has this really awesome line in the trailer saying, hey, if you step out that door, you're an Avenger.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
So here's what I think is going to happen. I think Hawkeye is real talent, and this has been factually stated in the previous movies. His big claim, one of his big claims to fame, is that he turned Black Widow into a good guy, and that's the big crux of their dynamic. So I think, and big thing of the Avengers is Hawkeye was turned into a bad guy, and he hated himself for it. So I think Age of Ultron is his big thing in this movie. He's going to be turning our bad guys, who are also mind controlled, into good guys. And
Oh, okay. So you think he's going to be going after Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver?
I think those three are going to be the big kind of. I think that's his main thing in the movie. He's going to be relating to these kids, saying, "Look, I know how you feel." I'm basically trying to reach them and just convince them that
Interesting.
you guys could be Avengers. Look, I did terrible things too, and man, look, but they're still good in you. And again, he did it to Black Widow when he turned her to the good side, and he was under mind control too, so he can definitely bond to these kids.
Now this is going to be the first time that we've seen him since Avengers. So my question is, do we think? I mean, of course, I'm sure it's not going to be as over the top hammy as Selvig was, but do you think he's going to have some kind of like ramifications in terms of like the mind control, like long term damage, kind of like Selvig?
Well, two things. One,
Okay.
I'm gonna speculate that with the damage. One, I'm going to think he might be immune to Scarlet Witch's things because of that.
That would be a nice twist. Okay.
Could be interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Two, I think with just him bonding with, again, I'm really strong on him bonding with, again, because I'm pretty sure that line in the trailer is directed at Scarlet Witch, which just strengthens that a lot to me.
I never even considered that, but yeah, that's a very good theory for sure.
I'm saying I'm 90% certain he's talking to Scarlet Witch in that trailer, just saying if you walk out that door, you're an Avenger. Because basically in the trailers they do like the shot where she is then screaming or like going out battling people. So I can only assume it directly follows that. I could be wrong. But with that, I think that might be his motivating factor for reaching these kids because he's haunted by all the terrible things he did in Avengers, maybe because of that residual Infinity Gem effect.
Right.
So that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking he's just going to be haunted by it, and this is his way of redeeming himself by turning to other people who are doing terrible things under mind control to the side of good.
I've got to say, man, like, I have been doing my best to avoid spoilers and to avoid reading reviews in general, but, I mean, from the few reviews I have read, like, suddenly Hawkeye has turned into my most anticipated part of this whole damn movie. Okay, anything else to speculate on him?
No, you got anything?
No, I'm fine.
You know me, I love my trick arrows. Just want to see a bunch of cool trick arrows.
Okay, yeah, of course. You love your gadgets.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so you want to move on to Agent Coulson?
Yes, his first name is Agent, folks. So, Phil Coulson.
Just like Cupcake Boy's first name is Cupcake.
Yes. So, Agent Gunner Phil Coulson. So let me give you a little. So let me fill you in. There's also
My name is Gunner, a stupid one.
So let me fill you in on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. They've revealed some facts about Coulson's past, before he became an agent. So let me walk you through.
All right. This is what I've kind of been looking forward to this whole time. So just indulge me.
So before we go to what happened after he exited the Avengers film, let me walk you through some of his past here that's been revealed. He was a nice kid from Wisconsin. His dad was a teacher in Wisconsin and a car enthusiast. Because I don't know if you know this, but he has a car in the show named Lola.
Yes, I do know that much. Yeah.
Basically, the car can pull Back to the Future, which is also a reference to the First Avenger. He has a flying car, like Howard Stark was trying to go for in First Avenger.
Check out some jerk with a camera's review of Back to the Future Part 3 to see an awesome cameo from a So You Want to Be an Imagineer member. Just thought I'd throw that in there. Anyways, move on.
But seriously, you see what I mean, though? Again, he loves Captain America so much he has his car. Homage a piece of history, too.
No, that's very true. Yeah.
Anyway, so again, his father was a teacher and also a car enthusiast who handed the car down to him, Lola. Look, don't touch Lola.
I remember when I was talking to you about the show, you said that Lola hadn't really shown up much in the new season. Has that changed?
Well, I mean, Lola has... Again, there's a really great bit where he's relating to the main girl of the show, Sky, but she's worried that... She's worried that something bad happens to her, and she's worried that she might be becoming a monster.
Okay.
And basically, Coulson says he really relates basically why he loves the old car and stuff. So basically, the car has more of a thematic thing in season 2. Like it appears, and it's like a little Easter egg, really.
Oh, okay, I got it. Okay.
It has a bigger role in season 1, but because 2 has a lot of grim stuff in it, they don't really have time to focus on the levity of the car, I guess.
Makes sense, I guess.
Anyway, so so the idea with that, and then also the important thing with the Coulson's character is that his father died when he was 9 years old. So.
Oh, so he was an Uncle Ben.
Well, no, he wasn't murdered; he just died.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I'm just saying
Okay.
that's not a lot, but he died when he was 9. So I don't know how traumatic, if they're going to bring it back at all. But just that was something some of the bad guys have said they get under his skin. Yeah, your father died when you were 9, didn't he?
Okay, nice, interesting.
Anyways, also I'm just picking up on a sense here that he got his nostalgia and appreciation for the nostalgia kind of ingrained in him by his father.
That would make a lot of sense from what you've been talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, as a kid, he grew up loving Captain America, with hence the trading cards.
Of course.
Yep. He loves to collect stuff, and again, maybe bridging off of kind of connection to a father, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
I can just picture him and his father collecting baseball cards or something, because the car appreciation, maybe some.
Oh God, yes. Oh my God, yeah. That's.
Point is, you
like,
also
so
see in
natural.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Coulson loves to collect. His office is full of collected stuff from around the world.
That makes a lot of sense given his role in Avengers.
Yeah, it's really cool idea, and also he loves a big thing I really loved is that there's an agent on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. called Agent Trip. Now, Agent Trip, he is the grandson of one of the Howling Commandos, which Coulson just loves the fact that is true. Yeah, it's the Gabe. I forget the names of him. I think he's Gabe Jones, the Black Howling Commando, I believe.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
I could be wrong. Again, I kind of screw up the names with some of these. I think it's Gabe Jones because he might have quasi been in the Agent Car, but they had to recast him for some reason. I don't know.
That makes sense. Yeah, I remember you talking about that when we recapped that. Yeah.
So the point is that guy's grandson is an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. The really cool thing was when S.H.I.E.L.D. Essentially they lost their technology. They used the old 40s SSR gadgets. And they're basically really old school gadgets that Howard. They might have been developed by Howard because the Howling Commandos used them in the field, and Coulson was in heaven because they're like old collector's items he could use to fight evil with.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really cool. I always loved that for Coulson. He has mad love for the Commandos.
Oh yeah.
And one last thing before we get into where he was in the
bourbon.
And this is just something from the S.H.I.E.L.D. comic. It's not a tie-in comic to the show, but it has characters from the show put into it. Basically, they're integrating stuff from the show into the Marvel Universe comics.
Weird, but okay, I'll go with it.
So basically, it's like, what if there was no embargo on any of the Marvel characters, in pretty much.
Okay.
So basically, there's this one cool bit that Coulson, as a boy, he would growing up, he saw all these historic characters come to fruition, like your Fantastic Fours and everything, and Iron Man, all those guys. And the idea is he would write down the stats and everything, kind of like a.
Oh no!
Again, the point is he was a fanboy as a kid, so he would he'd write down like Ben Grimm, the Thing. He can do again basically.
Oh my God, that's amazing!
Yeah, which is adorable.
So he essentially created the first superhero trading cards.
Exactly. Well, the point is, he'd use them years later when he was a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent to comprise stats and strategies for how he wrote weaknesses, strengths, and all pretty much Marvel trading cards. He wrote them down.
Sure.
For his own fun, because he loves superheroes, which is adorable. Anyway, so getting into Iron Man, Coulson is kind of our face of S.H.I.E.L.D. He's playing enough not to attract attention, not to attract too much attention. He's very persistent, friendly enough. He's kind of friendly to Pepper Potts. Not really that close to anyone yet.
Yeah, I kind of like how he's sort of just a fly on the wall in the movie. It's like he's not if you don't know what S.H.I.E.L.D. is, which I honestly didn't know at the time. Because I'm sorry, I'm just kind of a casual fan. I was into Spidey more than anything else. But, if you didn't know what S.H.I.E.L.D. was, then this guy, he could seem relatively insignificant at first. And I kind of like that about his character. His character kind of, slowly develops a big significance over the course of Phase 1.
Well, something we should point out definitely is that there are two reasons why Agent Coulson's become such a big thing. One is because he's played by a really good actor, Clark Gregg. And again, kind of the charisma this guy brings is a big reason he's been around, because people like him. He just has an instant likability to him.
Yeah.
And with that, also, I want to point out that I always kind of notice this about Coulson, but you can definitely see it in the first Iron Man movie. Clark Gregg, I don't know what it is about the guy. Everything you see him in, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., he works against it a little, because he's doing a lot of dramatic stuff. But you'll notice, I kind of call it he has a perma smile.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking
It's like
about.
Coulson is always kind of perpetually on some level happy, unless he's really trying to be serious in a scene. Like he always is kind of like he looks always so happy-go-lucky in some
It's
way.
almost kind of like the equivalent to like bad student actors and student film projects who like are trying to act in serious scenes, but they just keep cracking smiles. But it's just so genuine. It's like part of his personality.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, dude, I think just the Clark Gregg thing is I would watch New Adventures of Old Christine. He does the same exact thing. He's just always smiling. Even when he's yelling, there's like a bit of a smile in there. I mean, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., he stretches
I need to
into
see some of that show now because I want to see Agent Coulson in a sitcom.
Yeah, I mean, he's great, and Clark Gregg is really good. He's really
I'm
good.
sure. I'm sure.
Yeah, he gets to play more comedy in that, obviously, but just the idea he always has kind of this perma smile of pleasantness around him, and yeah, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. only when things get really grim will he kind of break away from that, but still, it's adorable. And here's an interesting question I was thinking of with the first Iron Man in terms of Coulson's here. So okay, Agent Coulson, big fan of Captain America, but unfortunately for him, the rest of the world's kind of forgotten about Cap. So he's kind of one of those fans of a sign that's kind of died out.
Okay.
So Iron Man comes into the fray. The guy comes up, he says, I am Iron Man. First of all, right off the bat, kind of making Coulson's job a little harder because he has to work on covering this up. But I'm wondering, is the idea of this red and gold guy going around here? You think? Like, what do you think? You think Coulson's just rolling his eyes like, oh, this guy's no Captain America? Or
No,
like,
I actually do think he's kind of
you think he's wowed at all? That's what I'm asking. You think
I do. I do think he I mean basically I think that he's not impressed with the person that is Tony Stark.
Yeah.
The arrogant playboy side of Tony Stark, but just the actual like Iron Man armor and the technology and the fact that he's using it for heroic purposes, I think that definitely gets on his fanboy side.
Yeah. So yeah, there might be a bit of a wow factor. I'm sure if like if you were to judge like Civil War, you'd say, oh, Captain America could easily kick the crap out of Stark easily.
Right.
But anyway, so okay, again, I mentioned this a little before, so I won't spend too much time on it. With the other thing, the big major thing that is the reason Coulson had such an important role in the Marvel universe ultimately is, in addition to Clark Gregg's performance, and just the fact that everyone has instant likability about this guy, and just the idea, hey, we have an original character, let's use that.
It is an original character?
Yeah, Coulson's original. Yeah, he was original to the universe. That's why he that's why he really has no background aside from this S.H.I.E.L.D. comic in the works right now.
That makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
But the other thing that cemented Coulson's role is because they did those Marvel one-shot short films.
Yeah, right.
And they're really good. I got to tell you, they're the reason.
I still have to see like all of them.
You do. Seriously, they are all really good. Remember, they have more resonance than you think because we have two really awesome Agent Coulson ones. We have we have one that's basically gave us the Agent Carter show because it was so good.
Sure.
And then there's one with the Mandarin. It's pretty much our prelude into Iron Man.
I really want to see the Mandarin one for sure.
Mandarin one's essentially is our prelude into whatever they do with Iron Man 4, whatever they do with Iron Man going forward.
Well, I don't know if we're ever going
I know. I'm just saying, like, whatever.
That's a whole different discussion.
Yeah, I know they're not doing Iron Man 4. I'm just saying whatever they do with him next.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Point is, the Consultant is the first one. The first Marvel one-shot really kind of boosted Coulson's likability, gave him personality, and the reason we like him more.
Was this like chronologically, where does it fit in?
It's right after the Incredible Hulk.
Okay, so it's before.
It's in between Iron Man 1 and 2, right after the events of the Incredible Hulk.
Okay, he doesn't show up in the Incredible Hulk, by the way, right?
He does not. No.
All right, I was just checking just to make sure. Okay.
The idea, again, it's kind of the Incredible Hulk is kind of in this weird loophole where it's in the
oh my god, it's so weird. It really is.
In terms of continuity, like it's in the middle of Iron Man 2. Yet that the end of the Incredible Hulk is now at the end of Iron Man 2, so it's kind of a weird.
I wish that I hate to say it, but I honestly wish they just retconned the Incredible Hulk. I mean, it's a decent enough movie on its own, but it just causes so many problems in terms of continuity.
Well, I mean, continuity-wise, I mean, it's there. It's just the idea they go in simultaneously. It's not really a problem. It's in the idea is they go on at the same time.
That's not my only problem with it, though. I mean, I have a lot of other problems with it in terms of how it fits in continuity-wise. I mean, just, I mean, at the basis of it, I've said time and time again, I think Edward Norton's performance and Bruce Banner's performance, or Mark Ruffalo, it's two completely different guys. Like, I cannot buy that those are the same character.
Well, the idea is that was a progression, Tiki. That's what we've been exploring here. He started off as one guy, now he's a different guy.
Don't give me that.
I'm not wrong. You can't even recognize him. Anyway, so with the consultant, the idea here is something is set up I really loved, and you'll know basically kind of the other S.H.I.E.L.D. agent I'm going to quasi-talk about with all these guys is that we see him talking to Agent Jasper Sitwell.
Okay.
And now, Sitwell, I always loved the idea that Coulson had a pal that he could talk to, and this is where I really truly kind of fell in love with Coulson, that the idea he was a mundane S.H.I.E.L.D. agent.
Oh yeah, of course.
The idea that he was in a cafe talking to Sitwell just about strategy, like, okay, what are we going to do? So I told you the whole thing of like the S.H.I.E.L.D. wants to stop the Abomination from being put on the Avengers team, but basically the general has the power to give him the S.H.I.E.L.D. Basically the plan is that to take him off.
Okay.
So basically just so again we just see this kind of where Coulson's kind of really kind of got his personality from and his humor from is in this little short, like he's making some jokes, and it's really just sincere kind of Happy Days type humor with this guy. I don't know, it's really great. Like the idea is like Sitwell, they're saying, well, we need a patsy. What if we had someone like who was just annoyed the guy who played the idiot, played the guy who just annoyed the general so badly, and then it says, well, yeah, like, have you seen my patsy? You know, patsy is right.
Yeah.
And then Coulson says, yeah, I've seen your patsy. It's amazing. I mean, it's beyond. When I think patsy, I think okay, enough of the comments. So it's real funny. It's basically the idea of this 9-to-5 spy job with just such mundanity of like, okay, so after a long day's work, what do? They go to a cafe. They talk over what are we going to do about tomorrow.
This sounds like something straight out of Breaking Bad.
Again, yeah, you're right. It's such a funny notion of, okay, well, these S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, well, they're going to talk. They're going to go. I believe it's the donut shop too, if I'm not mistaken, from Iron Man 2.
That would make so much sense. Okay,
I could be wrong, but I think it's the same place.
Right.
It's always just kind of a really funny idea. Again, the thing with Coulson through this thing and onwards, he always has such a nice demeanor about him. Like, so no matter the brilliance of Coulson is no matter what horrible situation he's in, he always has a nice demeanor about him. So we put him in any situation, he's always going to come out calm, cool, and collected. It's always cool. And I love, again, the idea here with Iron Man is that he's still not crazy about Tony. Maybe not Iron Man. He's not crazy about Tony Stark because the minute Sitwell realizes, oh wait, you don't mean we should bring in the consultant, and then Coulson just cuts him off, saying, "No, not him, not the consultant." And he says, "No, well, no, the consultant would be perfect for this." And it's all right, but I'm not going to like it. So the idea he's really not crazy about Tony Stark because he instantly, I guess, can see he doesn't have the humbleness of Captain America. I'm not crazy about this guy.
Sure.
So basically everything works out well. Again,
It's raining in California. Hooray! I'm sorry.
Yeah, so again, it's the idea he has like his buddy Sitwell. He talks these matters over with. Anyways, Iron Man 2. I'm sorry.
Iron Man 2.
No, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm just so excited by the rain. It totally cooked. We're in the middle of a really bad drought, right?
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's bad. It's very bad. So the rain is very good. Okay, anyways.
So in Iron Man 2, we see Coulson it doesn't have a lot to do compared to Iron Man 1. He has more, in the scene he has more humor and more personality. So again, throughout these films, you see Coulson kind of developing more personality. And you get to know Coulson.
The one thing I want to bring up right off the bat with Iron Man 2 is that moment where he's like, all right, Mr. Stark, you have to just stay here and I will be inside watching Super Nanny.
I remember Tony's just barking orders at him saying, okay, listen, I'm going to need you to run over to like a Starbucks or something and get some.
Right.
Basically, get him some food and donuts or something. Like, get him basically go to Starbucks and get him some brain food so he can work here. And Coulson just cuts him off saying, I'm not here for that. I'm here to make sure you don't leave the premises, and if you do, I will tase you and watch Super Nanny while you drool. So you ever see kind of the tough side to Coulson. And
the tough side, but then also the incredibly quirky, nerdy side with the Super Nanny thing at the same time.
Exactly. So this with bits like that, we see again we're getting to know Coulson a little more, which gives us kind of more of that mundanity. Okay, well, what's he gonna do after he tastes it? Was he gonna watch something? What was he gonna watch? Maybe Super Nanny. Why? Because maybe here's an idea why. Because maybe he can relate to having to literally he just had to tase Tony Stark to get him to behave.
Yeah, I'm just gonna get my aggression out on having to babysit this giant man-child by watching another babysitter. That makes sense.
Exactly. It's like, I can relate to this show in some way. So again, you get more of the personalities, the ideas of the personality for Coulson brewing here, and also there's a bit with the Captain America. The Captain America shield, which I can only assume the thing in the grand scheme of things now looking back at it is Tony Stark, he says, oh wait, I need that, it's very important, and just like I can imagine Coulson for a moment is like geeking out in his mind, but he's really putting
sure, of course
of like, oh my god, the Captain America prototype shield. And this is well, what you need. He says, I need it. Come on, man, help me out here. I need it. He says, okay, lift that, and they're basically using it as the prop, but he's probably crushing it too. He's like destroying the shield. Like, so it's like Coulson just says, I hate you so much right now.
Right.
Anyway, the idea is like starting from this point forward, kind of off screen more with Pepper. It's implied, but Coulson has developed a rapport between him and Tony, so they know each other a little more, like kind of a thorn in each other's side, and it's kind of
well, kind of like a loving sort of like,
yeah,
you're a pain in the ass, but you know what? Yeah. I like you.
Yeah, it's like, this guy, he's like Coulson, he's being straight with me here, and I kind of respect that, but still I don't like people challenging my authority, so hiya. Something like
sure.
So something like that. Anyway, so then he mentions he's going to the land of enchantment to basically to see Thor's hammer. And of course, here's the best short film of them all, Tiki. This is the reason Coulson is just beyond awesome. There was a short film called The Road.
I'm reading the title right now, and it's hilarious.
What happened on the road to Thor's hammer? Let me walk you through what happens real quick.
No, it says a funny thing happened on the way to Thor's hammer.
Yes, a funny thing happened on the way.
That's also a reference to a musical called A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum.
Well, let me tell you what happened on this thing. It's basically Coulson on the drive to New Mexico.
Okay.
He stops at, and appropriately enough, because we're in the Marvel Universe, he stops at a Roxxon oil gas station.
Sure.
Adorable. Anyway, so he stops in there. He goes, it's a gas station. So again, I love the mundane. That's why I love this one most. He goes in there and he's buying little stacks of donuts. Like those little wrappers full of donuts.
Yeah, of course. I love those things. Yeah.
And here's the funny thing. He's in a gas. There's like a female attendant at the thing. And he just can't choose between the powdered or the chocolate. So he walks out to the thing.
Oh, no. Oh, God.
Well, hold on a second. So he has, first of all, he's judging between donuts, and before he can make a decision, two robbers come in, guns ablazing. Well, you have like they're armed men coming in to rob the gas station, and Coulson's there. So So they first of all they say everyone down, and then Coulson just surprises them first of all because they didn't know he was there, saying, "Excuse me, I have this gun."
Excuse me. That's kind of like his trademark thing.
Yes, and what's so funny here, to really walk you through the true comedy is he says, "Excuse me, I know you said put hands down, don't anyone move, but I should tell you, I have this gun." He literally pulls out his gun like in a defensive position. Yeah. He holds it by like the handle, so he's not arming it at them. He's just holding it, so like just so casual. Like, I have this gun. Oh. So, put it on the ground. Put it on the ground. You want me? Would you like me to put it on the ground? Yes, just put it on the ground. Okay, well, just to risk it not going off, like they say, toss it over or something. I'm gonna move over to the next aisle. I'm gonna slide over to you so it doesn't risk going off.
Oh.
And they say, okay, and the one guy goes over the aisle, the other one's just there. So he drops it, but here's the best part: is that basically he slides it over, and while they're distracted with, he does basically a cool slow-mo action bit where he hops on the sides of the aisle, kicks the guy's shotgun down. The guy blows part of his own foot off.
Oh dear!
And then Coulson pretty much just dispatches with the other two, the two guys. Just beats them up, and the gas station attendant lady, the clerk, is she's just like dumbfounded by it. And he says, And then after that, he grabs the 2 donuts, goes to the counter, and he says, "I couldn't choose which one." he
That's
he
it.
paid.
That's it.
No. It gets better. He pays for them both, and
Okay.
then he says, "Hey, what should I tell the police?" And you should tell them those Tybo workout tapes paid off. And then he leaves. And here's the best part: throughout the whole thing, the gas was pumping into the thing, and he gets like an exact amount thing because he timed it just right.
Oh wow.
So again, it just shows you why Coulson is one of the most awesome guys in the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
And that's what the funny thing that happened on the road to Thor is, again, that's when I truly fell in love with Coulson. Like, I love this man so much.
That makes sense. That totally makes sense. Yeah.
So in Thor, we see he's really strict but you want to take us through Thor?
Yeah, well, Thor, like I said, it's interesting that in Thor he's kind of the one that's getting in the way of the plot in terms of he's the one that's taking away Jane Foster's research. So it's basically the first time that we see him in almost an antagonistic light. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, we see he's really kind of strict and more by the rule book than we've seen before. But he's pleasant enough to an extent that he can be. He's more like Men in Black, like giving them a cover story and getting out of there.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's just kind of an interesting dimension that they gave to Coulson with this movie.
And again, another interesting thing, just given how Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is played out here, is that he likes to see. His approach in Thor is that he takes the play it out approach. So basically, he knows that they're lying about the whole Donald Blake cover story when Selvig bails him out. So Coulson's idea here is, okay, well, listen, I'll have some S.H.I.E.L.D. guys tail him, which we see later on they have been tailing him, like watching over the town. So basically, I know they're lying to me here, but I'm going to let him take. I'll let him take this guy and just see where it goes, see if it leads to anything that'll give us some answers. And that's kind of Coulson's methodology. We'll play it out, see where it goes. He's more of a learning type guy.
Yeah, sure, makes sense.
Yeah. And again, it's just with Thor's bail and everything. It's just Selvig bailing Thor out. Dr. Selvig, keep him away from any bars. Where are we going? To get a drink.
Oh yeah.
And also, again, it's funny. Coulson in this thing, he's more cocky than we've ever seen him. Like the guy just saying he really thinks he's in control of the situation in this thing. Because remember,
that's true.
Remember, he's the one calling the shots here of like, we'll send in Barton. And he has every, he has all the control here. And then there's that scene where he's just kind of not chewing out, but he's talking like it's the principal's office scene of him talking to Thor, and he's like saying, well, listen, I've seen a lot of guys, and you basically reduced them to made them look like children on a playground or something. Basically made my men look like who are trained guys look like fools. And who trained you? And basically Coulson says, I don't care if you don't want to talk, that's fine, because I'm going to find out all I need to know. We know he's not going to find out.
Mm-hmm.
It's the idea that Coulson thinks he has all the answers, but he doesn't. So he's a little cockier than when we've seen him. But then again, by the end of his arc, after the Destroyer, which again, the Destroyer will serve him very well next movie. After he runs into the Destroyer, which he thinks is, oh god, it must be one of Stark's. That guy never tells me anything. After that, and after all the events in New Mexico, he is properly humbled when you think about it. Like not to a bad extent, like he was humiliated, but no, he's just kind of properly humbled and humanized by Thor.
No, that's very true. Yeah.
It's funny in terms of the Captain America thing, because it's like Thor is the guy kind of close to the Captain America ideal here in terms of like a guy who's a little bigger in life, kind of trying to exposit some knowledge on the Coulson here by saying, "Son of Cole, I may be your ally, Son of Cole, I may be your ally, but only if you return Jane Foster's work and her research." Okay, we were just borrowing it though. It's just he's trying to cover himself, saying, "Borrowing." And again, so Coulson also I love like the paperwork side of things where he says, "Oh, listen, I have to debrief you," as he's leaving.
Oh yeah, that's always been Coulson's kind of like MO throughout the whole thing.
So again, this is Coulson in terms of Coulson's arc here. This is him realizing, I got to go for a more humanistic approach here. I got to treat people like like people. It's
interesting because it's like I feel like with Thor, as you mentioned, he's been in the most control that he's ever been, but then by the end of the movie, he feels like he has less control now than he ever has because of the revelations.
Yeah, yeah. Again, it's like Coulson's like he's kind of going for less of the it's kind of like Will Smith and Men in Black. It's the whole like less of these statements, more just talk to people, just tell them the truth.
Uh
I think they're basically saying, okay, well, I'm not just going to give them like the story. I'm going to relate to them on a human level to get where I need to. And which feeds in big time to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and stuff on, especially in Avengers.
Sure.
So, in Avengers.
So yeah, he basically becomes a super geek.
Yeah, again, this is the most humanity we get. Because he's showing his humanity more. He looks really cool at the beginning of that. Just in the shot with like when Fury enters and you have Coulson just waiting out there in his sunglasses at nighttime. Looks really cool.
Oh yeah.
Makes no sense, but it's really cool.
Whatever.
Johnny Bravo does it all the time. Why not?
Yeah, exactly.
And importantly, we see Coulson. He cares about people. He's the guy saying, "Okay, leave the equipment. We got to get everyone out here. Come on, we got to evacuate."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good on Coulson. And we see he's nice to Thor later on when he's running in Thor.
Yeah, he informs him of Jane Foster's whereabouts.
Yeah, he went at Coulson's such a nice guy. He went out of his way to take care of Jane Foster, make sure she was safe against Loki, should he come back for revenge. And Thor's very grateful. There were little moments of comedy saying the Bill Stein, like large antlers, really big. You don't have those? No, we don't. Well, they're very unpleasant.
Yeah, but with the I don't know, it's just such a genius move on Whedon's part. It just goes to show you his talent when it comes to large casts like this, that he manages to get a character who, looking at the lineup of characters that's in the movie, you wouldn't think that Coulson would be like near the top when it comes to to legitimately affect the plot. But not only do they give him just a lot to do, a lot of memorable, quirky stuff like the trading cards and everything like that.
But just the idea he gets to be a fanboy in front of Captain America, the guy he idolized.
But then again, he is arguably probably the most important player in the whole thing because it's his death that motivates the Avengers onward. It's basically his death that brings everyone together.
Yeah, I mean, he had a really kind of sad yet heroic death. Because remember, he just, first of all, I love how Thor, I mentioned this before, I just love how Thor was there because he had a bond with Coulson, a mini bond with Coulson. But it shows you how impactful Coulson can be just with a little interaction. Because in the end, it has big, major implications with Captain America feeling really guilty about things.
Exactly.
I just love the idea he turns into like a little kid around Captain America, just like meeting his hero. It's basically what if you or I were to meet Stan Lee in a superhero costume, pretty much.
Oh dear.
Essentially, that's Coulson. It's just he's meeting Stan Lee.
Right. I hear you.
Basically, what if Stan Lee had the super soldier serum and he was in a Captain America costume? That's pretty much.
I got to meet Lemony Snicket. That was pretty cool.
That really does sound cool.
It was.
And again, with Coulson, when Coulson goes out, he goes out big because again he had that destroyer gun aimed at Loki. So again, he was more than willing to protect Thor by firing that thing at Loki. And again, it was really heroic the way he went out because then he just stabbed from behind, right through the chest, right through the heart. And again, it was the best part was when he got the advantage of Loki before he went because it's just like you're gonna lose. Because you lack conviction. I lack conviction. He gets in the monologue and then boom! Destroyer weapon. And the best line Coulson's ever uttered. Because before he said, I'll be honest with you, I don't really know what this does. Let's find out. Then stab. And then, of course, at the end, oh, that's what that does.
Oh, yeah.
And again, just the really heartbreaking moment where he's talking to Fury on his last moments there. He's just saying, it would have. It's funny. It's just Coulson realizes the necessity of his death in that moment because he says, I love how he doesn't get to finish it though. I love how he says, this was never going to work, sir. They needed.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Again, that just shows you Coulson, he knew. It's in a moment just sums up that Coulson needed. He knows what this job entails and he knows the risk of it, but he knows ultimately be worth it. Even if he dies, it'll be worth it. And also, something we should mention with Coulson's arc here is that it was mentioned earlier on, he's got a good rapport with Pepper going on, him and Tony. They're him and Tony,
his first name is Agent.
Yeah, so again, they have more of that joyful animosity towards each other, and Tony just kind of treats them. I'm not going to say brotherly exactly, but like really like kind of like they're friends, but they have a lot of barbs at each other.
Yeah, right.
So Tony just kind of downplays him because like he's the thorn in my side, but Pepper likes him, so I don't hate him or anything. He's like a vague annoyance. He's like basically the guy reminding me I have work to do. That's pretty much it. He's like my superior, pretty much. And with that, just Tony kind of has a bond to him, and he just realizes how sad he is when Coulson dies, and he knows. Tony feels he could have done something to help, but he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with Captain America, but he just feels like he could have done something. Like his biggest fan, he couldn't even help his biggest fan. He feels really useless. And there was also a mention of there being a cellist. So Coulson was involved with a woman, Audrey the cellist. We do meet in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., by the way.
Do we? Okay.
Yes, we meet Audrey. Unfortunately, we haven't met her in season 2 yet because Coulson kind of made that one of those heroic sacrifice things. Well, no one can know we're around, so I can never meet this girl again.
Okay, fair enough.
Which is sad. Basically, it's funny. Coulson saved her life, so she never knew that it was him that saved her life in the episode. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a tragic thing where you feel bad for Coulson because he knew that she moved on and everything, but he just it's similar to like a Men in Black thing, like with Kay. Mm-hmm. It's like a woman is around, but you can't have her to protect her, and it is moving. So again, it's just a shame that. And I just love a moment with Iron Man just saying, like Coulson, Captain America's asking, like, do they have any family? He says, no, but there was a cellist.
Right. Yeah. That is.
And again, it just shows you like what this job entails. That you may have unfulfilled, like you won't have a family life or anything because your life could be dispensable at any time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And also, real quick, I want to tell you something about Coulson. There's Blinky 500. He makes these really good fan films. There were 2 fan films about Agent Coulson. One's called I forget the first one's called. The other one called Coulson's Day Off, and that's.
Whoa, your audio is getting like really Ultron-y just there.
Really?
Yeah.
How about now?
Now it's fine. That was weird for a sec, though.
Oh. Okay. I mentioned Blinky 500. He makes these really good fan films. Anyway, the one of note is called Agent Coulson's Day Off, and just kind of reflect on him before we go forward. The guy that plays Coulson is really good. And the whole context of this little fan film is that Coulson has his day off. He has his Captain America mug and everything. It's adorable.
Oh no!
And he gets this is obviously back when he was alive. He gets a call about a mission from Nick Fury, and the mission is there's a guy dressed like Captain America who's like an anarchist, like holding people hostage and stuff. And the idea is
interesting. Huh.
And the idea is that Coulson, because it's Captain America's involved and someone's defaming the name of Captain America, he springs into action. He has like a really cool, basically talks the guy out of like killing people. Pretty much saying, pretty much saying, you know what, today's my day off, but you know what, you besmirched the name of a guy I really like, and I don't appreciate that. That's why I'm here right now. And basically, Phil Coulson using like a. But it's not the real one, obviously, but using a Captain America shield to take out a bad guy. It really is really nice.
Right.
And basically, seeing Coulson holding a Captain America shield is really cool.
I can see that. Okay.
Really, really, really nice. Anyway, so let's talk about his epic return.
Yeah, now you know that I haven't watched any of this, so in the expense, like I really don't want to just sit here and be like, okay, that happened. So just keep it as brief as you can. Just bring up like the real highlights. Yeah,
this is just it in a nutshell here. So when Coulson died, here's the aftermath. Here's what you didn't see, but we get. I'm sparing you a bunch of episodes getting from point A to point B here. Just
no, I'm sure you are. I'm sure you are.
So Coulson, as far as he was concerned, at the beginning of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., he just died for like less than a minute, and then he was revived by some special miracle stuff. Okay. And then he went on vacation to Tahiti, and then he came back.
That's one of the things I do remember about watching the show, like the first couple episodes before I gave up, was the Tahiti references.
That's what was said in the first episode, that he was just out for a few seconds, then we realized he thinks like the story. It's like a big fish story. Like I died for 7 seconds. No, I died for 30 seconds. And he keeps changing a little bit, but then it was apparently this wasn't going to Tahiti. It was a part of something called Project, like the Tahiti Project.
So that's pretty much what I assumed. Okay.
Which is an acronym for something, but I don't know, wager to guess. But it's like, here's what really happened. Okay, here's what really happened, which gets revealed to us down the line of what actually.
Okay.
So apparently he wasn't dead for seconds, Tiki. He was dead for days. So.
Ooh, okay, that's creepy.
A few days went by. It gets really dark. So a few days went by. There were several surgeons brought in immediately after. I mean, the point is, it was an ongoing thing. But the thing that to piece them together, but what brought them back to life, was this serum, this GH325 serum, which is Kree blood.
Interesting.
Remember Ronan the Accuser, the blue people?
Sure. Yeah.
Those guys.
Yeah, gotcha.
Basically, the blood of a Kree that was found on Earth was used in this GH. It's like kind of greenish blood.
Okay, that's interesting.
So basically, that was injected into Coulson's body, and that revived him. And then the surgeons worked around the clock to just finish patching him up. And more importantly, here's the reason they were really brought in to. They did this thing because the project, the Tahiti project, was developed to revive an Avenger should they be killed.
Oh, okay.
So,
that makes sense.
But here's the idea: when the revival is just half of it, that's obviously that's the important part. But with any revival, there's going to be some deep psychological trouble.
Sure. So
the plan was the surgeons are brought in to remove Hannibal Lecter style, like Hannibal style, remove the top part of your scalp, and a really creepy looking robotic machine like zaps and like messes with parts of your brain to recalibrate your memories and kind of reprogram you. So that's why Coulson thinks he was on vacation in Tahiti, hence the name.
Makes sense. Okay.
So he thinks he was just he was died for a few seconds, was like, clear, and
hey guys, thanks. I'm gonna go on vacation now.
Yeah, so that's what he thought. He was like on like a relaxation vacation to heal himself.
Oh dear.
But in reality, again, it was like a whole project. And here's the twist on it. With the vacation thing, the plan and memory of the vacation. Again, it's put in there to revive a fallen Avenger. But here's the twist: Coulson was revealed to, before he died, he was the guy who headed this project.
Oh, okay.
So, however, here's the real twisted part. So Coulson, Coulson, he found out there was a recording Coulson made a few moments before he died. Not moments, but I mean before the Avengers stuff happened. He sent like a request thing to Fury or some higher up at S.H.I.E.L.D. saying, "Listen, I'm in charge of the Tahiti project, but listen, I request that you shut this project down, okay?" And basically, the reason for it is because we've used the test subjects we've tried this on. It leads to severe mental defects and psychosis. They can't handle the process of coming back. It leads to insanity.
Sure. Okay.
And that was the big question of season the end of season 1 and more so season 2 of like, is Coulson going insane, or how long until he goes insane because the stuff's inside his blood?
Okay, gotcha. That's
anyway. So then, just to boil down what kind of where S.H.I.E.L.D. is with Coulson now is that with the kind of psychosis stuff, he didn't go insane, but he the residual effect of having that implanted in your body, the Kree blood, is that you have images in your mind that you have to carve out on a surface, and what the image is it's a map to a Kree / Inhuman city, which is which is all the stuff they've dealt with in season 2 right now. The point is, you get driven crazy that you have to carve out a map, and that map leads you to the rest where the other Kree stuff is.
So this is obviously like kind of tying into Guardians.
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting.
Anyway, so also the important thing is that Fury had Melinda May, who's kind of the big spotlight character of that show, basically the kind of the Black Widow of the show.
Okay.
Yeah, Melinda May is just kind of like she's really funny though. Like, she's like the tough girl on the team who's like, she's a lot of comedy. She's like, she's known Coulson for a long time. Her nickname's the Cavalry because she's the person you call in when things look hopeless. And Coulson finds out that Fury secretly had her watching him in case he goes nuts or in case something bad happens.
Mm-hmm.
And Fury basically allowed him. It was kept under wraps that Coulson was brought back so the Avengers don't find out, because obviously there'd be severe ramifications for that.
That's very true. Yeah, exactly.
So with that, Fury assigned Coulson the task of assembling a team, which he did, and Melinda May watching him, make sure you see if him coming back to life, if he's going to be okay and everything. And then we got a really kind of heartfelt. Well, before we do the heartfelt thing, here's how it ties in the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, tell me.
So basically, the Winter Soldier thing happens, and they were they're kind of at the forefront of the big discovery globally. Like, not we saw what the result was at the Triskelion, like at the base of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
So the idea is our guys were on a mission. There was like a thing with a guy called the Clairvoyant. I'm not going to bore you with, but
I've heard of him. I've heard of that guy.
the biggest thing with the Winter Soldier tie-ins that was the aftermath. So after basically people turned on each other, there's a lot of the question of like who's a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, who's not, and like it was revealed that one of the people on the team was a Hydra agent. It was really shocking to everybody, and the guy turned on him. It was really sad. And he's still around.
He was supposed to be like a really likable character, from what I heard too, right?
Oh well, I mean he was getting there.
Okay.
I mean he was likable. I don't know how likable in comparison, but he was getting more interesting.
Fair enough.
And he became more interesting when you found out he was a bad guy. That's when he really got into all this stuff. But anyway, so after the big double cross deal, our guys are shaken by it. But the aftermath is that S.H.I.E.L.D. is now thought of as Hydra purely, so they're targeted by the other government associations, such as Peter Petrelli's brother, Nathan Petrelli.
Really?
Yes, Nathan Petrelli, the guy, Adrian Pasker. I can't remember how to pronounce his last name, but the guy that was Nathan Petrelli, he plays a Hulk character. He plays the Marvel rebooted version of the bad guy from the Ang Lee Hulk movie, the military guy,
General Ross?
No, not General Ross, like the guy from the Ang Lee one, like the other bad guy, the one that remember they try to inject him in the face.
Oh yeah, okay, I know who you're talking about. I can't remember his name.
Oh God, I know his name. I can't remember.
I'll look it up really quick. Go ahead.
Anyway, so the point is like that military guy, he's kind of leading the whole, basically as far as the public and the Senate and everyone's concerned, S.H.I.E.L.D's the bad guy. We got to bring him in for questioning. So that's the aftermath. You know, it's shaking everyone, making them look like the bad guys. They're being pursued, being chased. End result is, you know, end result is Coulson eventually is contacted by Fury, you know, after he kind of faked his death in Winter Soldier at the end, like when he's at a gravestone, he's like going around the world now. It looks like
You're thinking about Talbot.
Talbot, thank you.
Yeah.
Glenn Talbot,
I'm sorry.
That's the
guy. Okay, so wow, it's Nathan. Okay, so all these heroes actors are getting work now.
So the point is just Winter Soldier is more so like just kind of aftermath of our good guys looking like the bad guys and being pursued until they can kind of clear the names by going after the last Hydra guys.
Right, okay.
And basically the end result was after everything that went down. I mean, again, it's a good stuff. The first season's a lot of good stuff, folks. So check it out. The end result was Coulson is contacted by Fury after he's donned his like living under a bridge look from Winter Soldier. He's there's a really kind of the only way I can describe it to you, Tiki, is like it's like the ending of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory moment of like, you know, him like saying, you know, what happened to the man that got everything he ever wanted. You know, he lived happily ever after. It's kind of that moment. So basically, Fury handing over the keys to S.H.I.E.L.D. He basically makes Coulson the director of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, okay, nice.
And he also gives him this thing called the toolbox, and the toolbox basically has all of like Fury's residual kind of information and stuff in it to rebuild S.H.I.E.L.D. It's really sweet the way this scene plays. Basically, Fury saying, well, Coulson saying, well, why'd you bring me back? And Fury saying, well, because you are an Avenger. And again, he brought the Avengers together. He was a key component of that whole thing.
Sure.
And he said, that's the reason, you know, that's the reason I brought you back. And also, in case anything happens to me, which it has, he gives him the keys to the kingdom, says, I want you to rebuild S.H.I.E.L.D. You know, make it better than what I did with it, you know? Here's the tools to do it. I trust you. You know, you're my good eye, Coulson. You're my good eye, Coulson. I trust you. And the idea is like Coulson, you know, with the last remaining S.H.I.E.L.D. agents and the SSR resources, he's using the old SSR base that we saw in Agent Carter.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
You're basically using that, and basically any residual S.H.I.E.L.D. stuff left. They're rebuilding S.H.I.E.L.D., but it's more covert than it's ever been. It's like basically only Talbot knows about S.H.I.E.L.D. really.
Interesting. I'm gonna have to watch this with Nathan Petrelli now. You didn't tell me Nathan Petrelli was.
I believe I've told you that when we were doing the whole speculation thing way back in the miniseries.
Oh, you could have, yeah, way back. That was
just
that was like almost 2 years ago at this point. point.
And the only thing I can tell you with the Inhuman with season 2 is that they're basically dealing with Inhumans. That's in a nutshell right now.
Oh, interesting. So that's going like way into phase 3.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So, I mean, they're starting to build the Inhuman stuff right now in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That's all I'll really bore you with at the moment. But the point is,
All
again,
right,
season
so
1
do you
has
have
a lot of
any sort of speculation in terms of Coulson?
Well, I can tell you this: Joss Whedon has officially confirmed there is no Coulson in Age of Ultron. So I don't know what Phase 3 is going to mean for this. As far as Joss Whedon's concerned, though, as far as the rest of the Avengers are concerned, Coulson's dead.
Okay.
That's the way it's staying. I was just still wondering. It's funny in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. they've been still kind of hammering in this. They've been hammering in this idea that. Sorry. They've been hammering in the fact that he can't tell anyone that he's like Lady Sif cameos and well not cameos. She's Lady Sif is in 2 episodes of the show so far, and in those episodes, like she says, "Would you like me to send your regards to Thor? Like I'm sure he'd be love to hear that you're alive." And he says, "I'm going to ask you respectfully not to do that, because I don't want to." Kind of keeping under wraps. I'll tell him myself. So Coulson,
right.
By the way, so again, still none of the Avengers know that he's alive, and also Maria Hill, which we'll get to. She brings up to Coulson, well, I could tell Stark you're alive. I'm sure he'd give you a job in a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
And he said
Okay.
no. So again, he's still keeping it under wraps that he's alive because I'm sure, and again, I think I really thought they were going to do with Age of Ultron was I was convinced Age of Ultron's plot originally was going to be that they were going to find out S.H.I.E.L.D. was, because before Winter Soldier, mind you, before everything would change with Winter Soldier.
Mm-hmm.
I was convinced the plot of Avengers 2 was going to be they find out Coulson's alive, therefore they distrust S.H.I.E.L.D., and then they bring in the Maximoff twins to help out.
Oh dear.
That's what I originally thought. That's why I originally thought the twins were going to be introduced. By that rather, they need new Avengers, so they get those.
I'd say you were a little off the mark with that.
Well, again, it was before Winter Soldier. Give me some credit.
Oh yeah. Okay. Is that it for Coulson?
Yeah. So he's basically director of S.H.I.E.L.D. right now, and just the other thing that's kind of going on right now is that I'm not going to get into the really confusing logic of it, but
thank you.
People are contesting his power. Really, they're really questioning if he's the guy to be director, which is kind of interesting, but they're going about a little clunky right now.
Interesting. All right. Okay, so I'm running a little low on time.
Well, Maria Hill is the very least to cover, so.
Yeah, I know, but I'm still saying I want to kind of get this over with in the next 20 minutes or so. So let's just power through it.
Okay, so in a nutshell, Maria Hill, she's we see in Avengers, she's the skeptic, second in command of Fury. Like she's the
Avengers
protege.
The first time she shows up, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Okay, fair enough.
So the idea is she's the protege to Nick Fury.
Right. Yeah,
and
she's kind of like his apprentice, if you will.
Yeah, and of course she has a huge role in the comics, especially Civil War. So I'm really interested to see what they're going to do with her there.
Yeah, I wanted to bring that up with you because I was listening to the superhero enthusiast commentary for this movie, right before we went on air, and they were talking about how Maria Hill in the comics, she's very much they said something like she was defined by her anger and that she's just really motivated and just kind of really cutthroat when it comes to getting to the top of S.H.I.E.L.D. And frankly, I don't think we've seen any of that from her so far.
No, we haven't. Just in Civil War onward, she's just kind of she is this. Basically, she's really gunning for the opposite side of the Civil War. Like anyone opposing it, she's going after him hard. She and Tony have a good rapport because they're on the same side. So that kind of develops.
Okay.
Nick Fury disappears in the Civil War story, so she becomes the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., and then she's just kind of really, she's less friendly. Let's just say that she's more like less playing games. She's cutting to the point, all that stuff. Yeah.
So they could still have an opportunity to kind of build that up.
Yeah, they could. And there was really good. There's a deleted subplot in the Avengers with her. And originally, the format of the whole film is going to be basically a different opening and ending. The framing of it was going to be the beginning of the movie starts with the Iron Man looking like he died before the Hulk wakes him up, and it was going to be she's confronted by the World Security Council and basically asks what is your assessment on how Nick Fury handled this situation, like a debriefing. It was a cool way to open the movie and a cool way to close the movie, but still I think what we got was better. But the idea is she was gonna she proves his merit. Like, she gets on Fury's side throughout the movie, which we still see, but the idea is she's going to prove by the end of it, like, she's on Fury's side, seeing that he acted the right way.
Yeah, very true, very true.
And again, throughout the film, we see her kind of prove her merit and her dedication. You know, she's the minute she hears that Barton's been compromised, you know, she's shooting at Loki. She's getting the action scenes. You know, she does legitimately care that, you know, Coulson died. You know, she's a good agent, and I love that we see her.
Yeah, no, I do like the shot. We do get a good shot of her when it comes over her earpiece that Agent Coulson's down, and she just gets that good, nice reaction.
Yeah, because again, the thing only thing I'm worried about with Maria Hill going to Avengers the first time, I was worried about Maria Hill because, again, she can be a really unlikable character sometimes. Again,
right? Yeah.
So I'm glad that she seems to be Colby Smulders. She plays her very well, and I'm hoping we see that idealism. If anything, it may harden with Civil War onward. But still, I like seeing Colby Smulders. It's
interesting that they decided to kind of take a different route and sort of just go in. Like, right now, she's just kind of like a model employee of S.H.I.E.L.D. You know what I mean? She's just kind of like, you know, she's just kind of, as you said, she's kind of a Nick Fury's protege in a way. You know, she's just, you know what I'm talking about. You know, she's just kind of one of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s best assets. But in terms of, like, I'll be really excited if we get to Civil War and what you're talking about really kind of builds up, because I feel like in that respect, we're not just starting with this kind of bitchy character that we don't like out of the gate. We're starting with this professional that we've gotten to know throughout a couple films.
Yeah. And again, by the end of the movie, we see she's on Fury's side, more than willing to, again, it just shows you if there is going to be a difference with Civil War going forward, it's going to be, we see her on Fury's side, and she's going to be acting really opposite of Fury in Civil War. So it's kind of neat to see maybe some hints of that at the end.
That's interesting. Yeah, right.
So Winter Soldier, we see she's really close with Fury, and we've been getting a sense of that from the Avengers. She bonded with Fury. She was he was questioning his methods throughout the Avengers, and she got on board with it by the end. But now she's still close with Fury. She's there when he's, you know, fake dying. Again, importantly, he's one of the people. She's one of the people that he truly trusts as well. Again, she's kind of definitely filled the role of Coulson since he passed on, as being like his eyes or his right hand.
Yeah, person. That's a good point. That is kind of her role right now. Yeah.
Yeah, and you get to see, like, she takes on things covertly, like Fury's in the cars, like telling her, "I need you to look into some things. You know, you have 3 hours. No, you have 2. Like, I'm gonna need like 8 hours. You have 3, something like that."
Oh dear. Right.
Anyway, so you know, basically, she's been taking on things covertly. She really knows how to play things close to chest. So we see, you know, Maria Hill. She's not in a lot, but when she's in it, man, she owns the scene. You know, she's really good. We see her. She's helping out Fury. You know, she has some funny moments too, like when she just basically kind of takes out the spare guard. Oh man, that thing was squeezing my brain. Who's this guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, the idea she really is someone to be trusted. You know, she kept Fury's return on the down low, and then she kind of helped save the day in the end, big time. You know, but at the commands, they're really shooting at guys as she's guiding Cap through the ending.
Indeed.
Yeah, again, I love just giving her more development here, so she's not just like a straight-laced Maria Hill I don't like yet, if anything, but she's still this really fun character, and she has a lot of awesome moments.
It's interesting that you know, they're kind of going in the way of like, let's build up to her. I feel like that's almost kind of very realistic in terms of, like, you know, you have these people, like, let's say in a corporate setting. Again, I'm kind of like relating to her in like a model employee sort of sense, but you know, in the corporate setting, you have these people who might be really into their jobs, you know, might be more hardworking than other people, you know, really ambitious about it, but they don't, you know, they're not necessarily any sort of malicious intent or any sort of like negativity surrounding them. And then they get put into a higher position of power, and suddenly one of the most likable guys in the workplace kind of is a common enemy among some people.
Yeah. And again, also one of my favorite parts of Winter Soldier at the end is with her, where she was just that moment where Captain America says, you know, blow the ship, and even though it says, well, you need to get out of there, Cap, says, no, just do it. Mm-hmm. There's that moment where, like, she really respects Captain America, and I love that. You know, she really has grown to truly respect Captain America.
Right, yeah.
Okay, so in S.H.I.E.L.D., not a lot in S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, she's in an episode. She's going to be in another one tying into Age of Ultron coming up.
Okay.
So I don't know what happens in the second one, obviously, because that's an area. But,
Yeah.
in the one we have seen, again, this is the one that tied into the Winter Soldier stuff. We see she has a rapport with Coulson still and a friendship. And obviously, she's happy to see him alive again. There's that. Actually, I'm sorry. We've seen her in 2 episodes. She was in the first one in the pilot.
Oh, was she really?
Yeah, it was more of a cameo in the pilot, just to say, oh yeah, hey, there's Colby Smothers. She was still finishing up Hannah.
Oh dear.
The reason she
Hi,
wasn't
Colby Smothers.
you see, the big reason she wasn't in the show more frequently is because she was finishing up How I Met Your Mother.
How I Met Your Mother, right.
So now that that's done, I think there's finding story opportunities for at this point. And,
sure, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Anyway, so she has a. So again, we see she has a rapport with Coulson, a friendship in these, especially in these hard times. And of course, basically, she was also kind of the face dealing with the fallout of S.H.I.E.L.D. because, again, she was one of those higher ups in command, so she was being hounded by Congress and by the Senate, much like Black Widow was at the end of Winter Soldier.
Yeah, for sure.
So that was the thing she was dealing with, and basically in the episode, like, she was like giving Coulson some pointers, some help, and like she at the end of it, she suggests, "Why don't you reveal yourself? Why don't you reveal that you're not dead to Stark? I mean, I'm sure he hired you, man. Because remember, at the end of Winter Soldier, she is hired by Tony Stark."
Yeah, that's a good point for sure.
Yeah, so that's something I'm sure going in Age of Ultron we're gonna be referencing.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a dynamic. Absolutely.
And everyone was looking for a gainful employment at the end of Winter Soldier. She's wanted to.
Makes sense.
I don't know if she's a secretary or not.
Job vacuum in the market right now.
I wonder if she's in charge of security or in charge of like being a secretary. I don't know. She looked kind of big. She has this thing on her arm. It looked like a phone. I don't know.
Yeah.
So again, she's working at Stark, and she suggests, well, if you need a job, I'm sure Tony would hire you in a heartbeat because he'd love to know that you're alive. He says, "Oh no, I'm not ready for that
yet." Yeah.
So in Age of Ultron, this is speculating Age of Ultron.
Okay, well, I don't really know much about the character, so it's like my speculation with her more has to do with her role in Civil War. So why don't you give me some stuff in terms of what you think with her?
Well, no, just I think that by the end of this movie, we're gonna probably see her and Tony get close, and it'll be like the end. Like maybe the end will be a fallout between Tony and Cap, and the ending and maybe the mid credits. I don't know. Something will be she and.
You mean that mysterious end credit stinger that we may or may not be getting, but probably won't be, but I hope we do get?
Yeah, I don't know. So they're playing mind games. They know they're playing mind games with that sort of thing.
It's ridiculous, and I don't like it, and I'm going to sit there regardless, and I'm probably going to be unhappy, and I'm going to be even more unhappy knowing that I was warned in advance, but whatever. That's a whole different thing.
Anyway, so she, I get the sense that she and Tony by the end of this movie are going to be like drafting up the whole Civil War idea. They're going to be campaigning by the end of this for the Civil War. So like the ending will be like Tony coming up with the idea for the Civil War, like she being on board with it or something.
But keep in mind that from what I've heard of Age of Ultron from the early reviews, people are definitely speculating that Ant-Man is more of a setup to Civil War than Ultron is.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's just what I've been hearing. I don't know. I mean, I definitely think you're right on the money in terms of it. Logically, it would make sense that we get a lot of Civil War build up, and I'm sure we will, but it's interesting. I feel like kind of Civil War is going to have like some of the more personal stakes. Age of Ultron is going to have some of the more personal stakes involved with Civil War, and then I feel like Ant-Man is going to have kind of like some of the more sort of like overriding philosophies of Civil War kind of at play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in a way, kind of like they both build up to it.
Yeah. I'll tell you something. I do think. I think they'd be kind of clever if they put a bit in there where she's like off to the side. She's a S.H.I.E.L.D. informant. So like she would be the unofficial liaison between the Avengers and Coulson's S.H.I.E.L.D. So like she would like update him periodically and like what the Avengers are up to.
Sure.
And maybe that's how they could be kind of cross-promote Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. with the Age of Ultron. Of like we see her in the movie making a phone call. It says like Phil Coulson. Maybe that's the only reference we get to him.
Oh dear.
Then we see like on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. like her being told like everything's fine, but there's oh my god, what is that? It's Ultron walking through.
Right. Rings.
Yeah. And also, I mean, I'm just going for broke here. I'm just saying, like, if they could pull a complete 180, I doubt it, because, again, Rhodey seems to be on the chat, but she could be like a surprise death in that scene, because she's reaching for her gun in that clip. She's, like, getting ready to strike
Yeah, that could be, but like I said, I just feel like she has too big of a role in Civil War.
Yeah,
I think she's immune.
I'm just throwing it out there just in case. Again, overall with S.H.I.E.L.D.,
Right,
what do we think? There was one of the annoying thing with Iron Man 3 that S.H.I.E.L.D. had no response, but again, that's probably because Winter Soldier's going on at the moment.
Well, yeah, I think I can excuse that. Right.
Because I'm saying Tony Stark goes missing in Iron Man 1.
Iron Man 3 was such a fun movie regardless, and I just don't care. Like,
Yeah.
it's one of those movies where it's weird because it fits in with the MCU really well in terms of Avengers, but then other times it doesn't really fit in with the MCU too well. But it's just a fun movie, so it's like, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else?
So I guess just Age of Ultron with S.H.I.E.L.D. in general. Not really much to... Again, when do you think we're going to see S.H.I.E.L.D. More prominent again, like to the point where the Avengers know about it? Like, do you think in Infinity War Coulson will have been revealed, or do you think it's just because Whedon said?
Well, I mean, I do think Infinity War. I mean, you know what pisses me off is that James Gunn and people are going on like, "Oh no, Guardians and Avengers are never going to meet." I'm like, don't give me that shit.
Yeah, and like I'm saying, Whedon. I wonder if Whedon's just saying, as far as he's concerned, Coulson won't meet the Avengers again, or if it's like he's in the future of Marvel, like he's not.
What I'm saying is that Infinity War is like everything in the kitchen sink. So if they didn't include Coulson, I think it'd be a mistake. Just because that movie right now is just building towards like just being like a giant, huge heaping of two-part fan service where every single solitary side character of the MCU is going to get some sort of thing to do. And I don't think Coulson will have a big role, but I do think he'll reveal himself.
All right.
But okay, so anyways.
So again, S.H.I.E.L.D. overall, it's come along a grand way, hasn't it?
Yeah, I don't necessarily think that. I don't think that S.H.I.E.L.D.'s going to be in Age of Ultron.
No.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's been a crazy ride with S.H.I.E.L.D. in terms of like starting out like kind of this. It's funny how it's like they started out shady, and then by the time Avengers comes around, and by the time it's like we're almost on their side. And then Winter Soldier happens and just completely pulls the rug out.
Yeah, it's just funny. They started off as like this little SSR organization, and now they become like this whole shadowy, covert, clinging to scraps, like rooting for the little guy story. It's amazing.
Right. So yeah, really good development there. Okay, so I guess that about covers it for S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yes.
All right, so you want to give a little tease of the next subject we'll be covering here on the Road to Ultron?
Sure. So, folks, we covered the massive covert S.H.I.E.L.D. organization. We've worked our way through it, but we got to hit the head honcho here. We got to talk about the guy whose secrets have secrets, to quote Tony Stark. We got to talk about Nick Fury, the original spy.
I am sick of this motherfucking Chitauri on my motherfucking airship. Yeah, enough said.
Where's my super suit?
Oh, so that should be a fun one. That should be a really fun one. And we're getting right down to it, BlueDragonFive. It is close. So, all right, I guess that's it. Let's wrap it up. So, that's all for now until the next MCU star gets profiled.
But don't you cry over your Captain America trading cards just yet.
After all, the dawn of a new age is upon us. An age of marvels.
I've got no strings to hold me down.
I've got no strings on me. So that's what that does.